And this is part 4 in a series on CAWs in horse racing. There's this old saying, all roads lead to Rome. Well, whenever you try to get to the bottom of who the big CAW player is in horse racing, all roads lead to Zeljko the Joker Ranogajec. Who exactly is this mysterious figure they call the Joker? Well, he's an advantage gambler focusing on horse racing and basically any other gambling scheme where he could get an edge. In his college days, he studied tax law and banking finance, dropped out of college to focus on his gambling activities. As far as the big American tabloids go, the most recent big story involving the Joker was written by the Wall Street Journal, and it involved the Texas lottery scandal. Here's a news article from the Wall Street Journal published 6 months ago titled, How a Secretive Gambler Called the Joker Took Down the Texas Lottery. Under the headline, it says a global team of gambling whizzes hatched a scheme to snag the jackpot, millions of tickets in 72 hours. Before I get into reading the Wall Street Journal article here, here's just an overview. In 2023, a secretive gambler named Zeljko Ranogajec, alias the Joker, and his team, led by London banker turned bookmaker Bernard Marintelli, executed a bold plan to win the Texas Lottery's $95 million jackpot. They purchased 99.3% of the 25.8 million possible number combinations for $1 each, printing millions of tickets over 72 hours using official terminals in 4 Texas locations. Backed by the Joker's vast wealth and gambling expertise, the operation netted a $57.8 million profit. The scheme, though legal, sparked outrage in Texas, with officials calling it a massive theft. Investigations followed, and the Texas Lottery Commission tightened rules to prevent future bulk buying schemes. Okay, so here is a snippet from the Wall Street Journal article, and in an earlier portion of the article, it said that there was 91 straight drawings without a winner. So 91 straight drawings without a winner. And at this point, there was over 3 days to the next drawing. So it says over 3 days, the machines, manned by a disparate bunch of associates and some of their children, screeched away nearly around the clock, spitting out 100 or more tickets every second. Texas politicians later likened the operation to a sweatshop. Trying to pull off the gamut required deep pockets and a knack for staying under the radar. Both hallmarks of the secretive gambler who bankrolled the operation. Born Zeljko Ranogajec, he was nicknamed the Joker for his ability to pull off capers at far-flung casinos and racetracks. Adding to his mystique, he changed his name to John Wilson several decades ago. Among some associates, though, he still goes by Zeljko or Z. Over the years, Ranogajec and his partners have won hundreds of millions of dollars by applying Wall Street-style analytics to betting opportunities around the world. Like card counting at a blackjack table, they use data and math to hunt for situations ripe for flipping the house edge in their favor. Then they throw piles of money at it, betting an estimated $10 billion annually. The Texas lottery play, one of their most ambitious operations ever, paid off spectacularly with a $57.8 million jackpot win. That, in turn, spilled their activities into public view and sparked the Texas-size uproar about whether other lotto players, and indeed their entire state, had been hoodwinked. Earlier this month, the state's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called the cruise win the biggest theft from the people of Texas in the history of Texas. In response to written questions addressed to Marintelli and the Joker, Glenn Gelbert, a New York lawyer who represents the limited partnership that claimed the Texas prize, said all applicable laws, rules, and regulations were followed. The account of what happened is based on interviews with people who were directly involved in the Texas operation or in contact with those who were. The Wall Street Journal also reviewed photos and videos of the operation's emails, Continuing on, the printing operation ran day and night. The team had converted each number combination into a QR code. Crew members scanned the codes into terminals using their phones, then scrambled to organize all the tickets in boxes such that they could easily locate the winning numbers. The game called for picking 6 numbers from 1 in 54. For a pro gambler, some sets of numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 aren't worth picking because so many other players choose them, which would split the pot. The operation bought 99.3% of the possibilities. Money moved to lottery.com from the Joker's account held under the name John Wilson in the Isle of Man, a tax haven off of the UK coast, taking a circuitous route via an escrow account at a Detroit law firm, according to people familiar with the transfers and bank statements reviewed by the Journal. The crew hit the jackpot that Saturday. One of their winners was the sole winner. About 2 months later, the Lottery Commission revealed that the prize had been claimed by a limited partnership called Rook Texas. The winner had elected to remain anonymous, the commission said, as allowed under state law. In another snippet in the article, it says Walsh told the conference the syndicate once won $63 million on a Tokyo horse race, took down a German lottery, and would frequent Las Vegas on the night of big boxing matches to take advantage of increased betting limits at the casinos. In 2011, Australia's tax authority said the Joker and Walsh needed to pay income tax of tens of millions of dollars of winnings from previous years. The case was settled under undisclosed terms. Walsh's passion for gambling faded. With backing from the Joker, he built the Museum of Old and New Art, now one of Tasmania's top tourist attractions. Walsh has described the museum, which is dedicated to sex and death, as a subversive adult Disneyland. Finally, another key snippet from this article. It says, intensely private, the Joker has been dubbed by Australian and UK tabloids as the Loch Ness Monster because he is so rarely photographed. After getting married, he took his wife's surname, becoming John Wilson. In London, where he had moved before the tax dispute, he found a new business partner. Of course, the New York Times covered this. They had a feature piece, how Texas officials invited the rigging of the state lottery. That's the headline underneath. It says, Texas lottery executives blessed a scheme that ensured one player would win a $95 million jackpot in 2023. The caper has underscored a sense that almost nothing is on the level. All right, May 17th of 2018, this lady here, who's described as the top investigative news reporter for the Sydney Morning Herald, this was 7 years ago. She writes a featured piece that they run on the front page. It says, Meet the Joker, the Australian who is the biggest gambler in the world. In the article, it says, after a fight with the Australian Taxation Office, the reclusive Joker moved his gambling headquarters to the Isle of Man, a tax haven in the Irish Sea off the coast of Britain. In early 2012, not long after his arrival, he set up Colossus Bets with Bernard Marintelli, the son of a Victorian bookmaker. Here it says, every minute of every day, the Joker's gambling syndicate wagers on the outcome of sporting events all over the world. His outfit employs mathematicians, data analysts, computer scientists, as well as racing observers to gain an edge. It continues, but it is not successful wagering that is earning the bankroll of fortune. It is the clandestine receipt of kickbacks from gaming companies, which effectively means that the likes of the Joker can't lose. Kickbacks in horse racing, when you think of kickback, it's like dirt being kicked in the horse's face. What they're talking about here with kickbacks, simply rebates. It's rebates is what they're talking about. The Joker is the rebate king. Apparently, he's got a Twitter account, or he had one here. It was a locked Twitter account that eventually got deleted, but this portion of the article calls him a reclusive czar. Nicknamed the Loch Ness Monster, the gambling czar is rarely seen. He uses a series of corporate mazes and front people including a self-employed seamstress from Tasmania and a former technology writer from The Age and the Herald, to make sure he remains in the shadows. Instead of a self-portrait on his locked Twitter account, there's a picture of his $1 million sports car, a Lamborghini coupe with the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the background. His Twitter profile simply states, allegedly the world's biggest punter and high-stakes professional gambler. All right, here it says that the Joker's move to the Isle of Man followed a spectacular clash in 2012 with the Australian Taxation Office, which was pursuing the Joker and the 18 other members of what the ATO came to refer to as the Punters Club. The ATO was chasing the Tasmanians for close to $600 million in taxes and penalties. The syndicate argued that theirs was not a business and therefore no tax was payable on their gambling winnings. This portion of the article says he backed the whole field. One racing insider pointed to the Joker's shadowy presence in the betting on the world's richest turf race, the Everest. Last October, the 6-furlong sprint at Randwick had a jackpot of $600,000 to pick the first 4 horses. When the race jumped, the pool had about $1.5 million. By the time the race was finished, $1.5 million more had flooded in from the Isle of Man. The Joker crushed the pool, the racing insider said. He was almost guaranteed a win because he backed the whole field, as well as collecting a rebate of $150,000. All right, I think I saved the best for last here. This is like my favorite snippet out of all these articles. He says, my name is John Wilson, and I live at Mosman, and I'm an investor. The Joker told the court in November of 2008 when he was moving to bankrupt his partner O'Farrell. Asked if he was also known as Zeljko Ranogajec, he replied, that is correct. I changed my name to my wife's name when I got married. So the Joker, he identifies as John Wilson, clearly an alias. Down here it says O'Farrell had an ambitious scheme to wager in the U.S. throughout his company Capital Play, which was majority owned by the Joker through a front company. In January 2004, gambling regulators wanted to know who was behind the front company. In court, the Joker agreed that members of the bankroll syndicate were unwilling or unable to supply the information requested by the gaming regulator. The legal dispute was over O'Farrell's promise to buy Joker rebates from the U.S. wagering operation. Although the payment of these rebates were based on a verbal agreement, many have involved some illegality in the U.S. Here's what we know about these CAW teams for sure. They will bet every track of more significance than I would say Arapahoe Park. They're not at Arapahoe Park, but any track in North America that's of more significance than Arapahoe Park, they are betting every race at every track. And this has been going on for a very long time. And I was at Mountaineer in the summer. You know, you'd see these pick 5 pools there where going into the gate, there's about 40,000 in the pick 5 pool. And, you know, you see here over 135,000 in the pick 5 pool on a Tuesday at Mountaineer. This money in the last few seconds would just explode into the pools, especially the multi-win exotics. And this is definitely not Mountaineer specific. This is every track in North America of more significance than Arapahoe Park. They love these pick 4s, pick 5s. And you can go into the tote room and you're just like, what is going on? Why do you need to put huge pick 5 bets in at the very last second? I mean, wouldn't you think you'd want to get those wagers in early? Why do they even wait to the last second for those bets? I mean, it's crazy, but they've got an MO. This is not like 20 different entities. Who believes that? Who believes that? I'd love to know. Who believes that? That's what they want to pass off. I mean, these guys are slamming every race everywhere. Love pick 4s, love pick 5s. Clear MOs. I mean, they've got very, very clear-cut MOs, and you've seen years and years and years of the same exact thing, same patterns, same weird patterns. This can't be like 20 different independent operators, all anonymous. You got the Joker, you got whatever alias he's going under, taking his wife's maiden name. There's a network there, attachments. Maybe they're using various names. So there is a lot of suspicion, and I think it's pretty darn logical suspicion that this guy is the big CAW player, and a much bigger player than I think people think. You look at his early background, went to college to study tax laws, then banking and finance. He's demonstrated incredible skill with tax law. There's always like these tax havens that he's making his bets through. I mean, this guy just fits the profile perfectly of who you would suspect is like the mastermind running the big CAW. Does that mean it is him? I don't know for sure. I mean, it's an unknown subject, a very much an unknown individual who is running, this big operation, this big team. Who is he? I would say he is the top suspect. The top suspect. The harder you try to examine it, it's like all roads lead to him. I mean, it's crazy. The rebate king, betting everything in sight. And you got to look at this from the track executive's point of view, these big entities in racing. I mean, the bread and circus that this is creating, they got to think this is wonderful. For the average individual gambler, what's being called the retail player, this is just raising the takeout on them. That's all this is doing, is raising the takeout, frustrating them with these wild odds swings, these patterns and MOs that they have, just making these huge aggressive bets at the very last second, causing odds fluctuations. This is not good for the bettors. I mean, even if you put up these guardrails to eliminate these last second wild odds swings, you can do guardrails to stop that. But this is a sharp element. This is a sharp element in the pools, and it's raising the takeout for everyone, making it harder to win. There's an old poker saying that if you can't identify the sucker at the table, then the sucker at the table is you. Well, here we've got the CAW element, 2 accounts out of Elite who are responsible for 20% of all wagers. These guys seem to have a pretty darn good handle on every track. They're like betting every race. I mean, who does that? Who does that? Who bets every race at every track? That's crazy. And they're clearly not losing. If they were losing, their action would be diminishing and their run would be short-lived. This has been going on for a while now, and they're getting stronger and stronger. They got to be winning piles of money. They've got to be winning piles of money. They've got to be. I don't know for sure. I don't know for a fact. I don't even know who these people are. I mean, this is just speculation. This is a best guess. It's a frustrating thing, and you got an unknown subject here, and if you had to take a wild guess at who this guy may be that's running these 2 teams, or maybe there are 2 different teams, maybe it's him and one of his aliases or his network or whatever. I don't buy that there's, all these anonymous CAW teams all acting independently. Come on, give me a break. If you have to speculate, take wild guess. I mean, this guy seems to be the guy where the smoke is. That's where the smoke is. It's, the guy that studied tax laws, the guy that knows banking and finance, the guy that's pulled off all these wild heists, the guy that is clearly the world's biggest thoroughbred gambler. I think logic would dictate that he would be the chief suspect, but no one knows for sure. No one knows anything. I mean, I hope you're enjoying these videos, but there's a lot more questions than answers in these videos, and you could go into tote rooms and, talk to the tote guys, watch things a little closer than the public might have, go over wagering summaries and wagering documents, kind of try to put thbe under the microscope. But you're not going to get answers. I mean, it's going to take some real reporting. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not a real reporter. I'm a disillusioned racing fan on YouTube is what I am. I was reading some Wall Street Journal articles. Those are real reporters there. We have real reporters in racing. This is like a ghost element, though. I mean, I want them to find these people, but let's say this is the Joker. Let's say it is. It's not going to be a good look for racing, I think, is, what the suits would tell you. I mean, he's a foreigner. You got a foreigner that's causing all this chaos, getting massive rebates, betting at the last second with these crazy batched bets, all coming in at the last second. You do have to applaud Naira for what they've done to try to, curtail the odd swings and to keep them in line. And But as a starting point, these people need to be identified. Who are they? Clearly, the top suspect, the Joker and his team. Are there other big players in there up for debate? Who knows? This is just the reality of American racing in 2025. I mean, this is raising the takeout for people. This is effectively raising the takeout. Even if you get these wild late odd swings in line, I mean, this is a sharp element. There's sharks in the pools, and they're in the pick 4 and pick 5 pools like crazy at smaller tracks. Don't kid yourself. I mean, there's no carryover here. You see no carryover. This is a Tuesday night. And it's like that all the time. Just the frustrating realities of 2025 thoroughbred racing. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.